Hi everyone, myself Shweta Grover, and I have come up with one more new topic, which is on internal control best practices for small businesses. Now, first of all, I would like to thank Vivek sir and the CS Ansar for giving me opportunity to have this good topic on platform, which is the need for an hour, and I'm gonna discuss about this in detail in this in this video. So let's start with this. The topic is internal control best practices for small businesses. So when I say internal control, it's important for big organization as well as for small businesses, but the problem is internal controls is necessary as well as difficult to implement for the small businesses. So here I'm going to give you 8 best practices which small businesses can adopt and stream effectively implement their internal controls to some level, and which can give them I would say a true and fair controls over their existing business environment. So let's start with this. First of all, before we go into it, like why we do need internal control environments, here are some reasons to it. One is reduction of fraud risk. As per this accreditation of CFE, major fraud risk, which is related to employee frauds, happen basically into the small businesses. Reason being, I mean, there is no indirect controls over the employees, so owners are more busy into their performing their business activities and everything, so they hardly take care of business operations and the activities. So that is where there is a loopholes available and these kind of frauds happen. Second is statutory requirements. Now, when I'll say statutory requirements, it basically means how we are complied with the all the statutory requirements. We are complied with the filings and everything. So have this in place. There has to be some internal controls which can help us identify the filing requirements, and we can streamline, or we can fulfill it on time. Third is efficient business operation. No doubt, internal controls, if you have implemented appropriately, helps you to if efficiently manage your business operations by curtail down the manpower resources wastage, and helping the team to know exactly what they need to do, right? And the fourth one, which is an important one, which is expansion. So whenever we go for an expansion, it is very important that our existing controls, existing processes are strengthened and streamlined and ready to merge with with the new area or business expansion we are going to do. So expansion could be organic and inorganic. Organic expansion means the expansion which is within the company. Maybe we are going into another new chain of business, or I mean new we may be developing new product, or something like that. Inorganic means we are going for some expansions, mergers. We are adopting, or we are taking another business, acquiring another business. So when we are acquiring another business, there might be some there are different technologies which they were using. There are different application which is altogether different from our existing applications. So we have to streamline those things. We have to manage the things, and for that, if our internal controls are not proper, then it will be very difficult and gonna time consuming task, to merge the business, and to have the business streamlined. So this growth could be I mean, the internal controls helps you in both the ways. Suppose you are planning to sell your business to another entity. So for them it's an inorganic growth, and when they want your business to be merged with us, they also while performing their due diligence, they will be the prospective clients will be when they were performing due diligence, they will be seeing how your good environment is, the business environment is. So even at that situation, your controls helps you out, the environment helps you out. So these are the basically four major reasons why we need internal control for small or big business, whatever the business you are running with. Best practices. So here are the eight best practices I'm going to discuss today. For by adopting these things, you can manage your internal controls effectively. So one is policies and procedures, second is segregation of duties, approval metrics, adequate physical control over assets, reconciliation process, adequate training to staff, documentation, and last one, very important, self-evaluation of existing controls. So I'm going to discuss one by one. Basically, I'm going to discuss in detail the practices, which is policies and procedures, segregation of duties, approval metrics, and the self evaluation of existing controls. So let's start with policies and procedure. Policies and procedures, I mean, for small businesses, it's hardly found out that there are some set policies or procedures or guidelines defined, well drafted, circulated among the employees, so that they are aware of what to do, to whom to contact, to whom send for approval, some expenses, bills, or anything. So, I mean, this is very important that for an organization, these policies and procedures are the base to have the set guidelines, to have the vision for the employees, for the stakeholders who all are involved with us, to help them see what exactly they need to do, they need to go, what they need to do, right? So when I say policies and procedure, it's not necessary that your policy and procedure should be well drafted, or I mean, it has to be a fancy document or something like that. Guidelines with with the details which actually has to be there will suffice. So I have listed out some of the guidelines or policies which has to be there when we'll say that policies and procedure has to be there. So I mean, the bare minimum which needs to be there is the asset usage guidelines, which is very important, because even your organization is big or small, somehow your employees were using some sort of assets. You were handing over them assets like laptops, mobiles, or I would say even a small consumables, maybe headphones, chargers, or something like that, your stationery. So they need to be aware of how to use that assets. If there are some guidelines, so they know that okay, yes, we have to be careful while using company's assets. And if what if that asset got destroyed, got stolen, what will be the scenarios and everything. So asset usage guidelines is very important for the company, to help employees understand to how to use that particular assets, what are the uses that should not be for personal use or something like that. Then from HR perspective, employee this leave and attendance policies has to be there. Although the nowadays the culture has very well got changed. We have shifted to work from home, we have shifted to flexible policies. So these leave and attendance policies should be drafted like that only. But something has to be in place, not strict, very strict policies, but yes, giving at least a I mean a guideline to them that how they need to work, what are the working hours, you know so all that has to be there in this leave and attendance policies. The third one is general administrative policies, which is very important, because I have seen in many organizations, people are roaming here and there and asking for, like, who will approve their conveyance, how this will process, what are the limits, what amount of advance we'll get, uh, to whom do we have to approach for the advance request, what do you have any format where I can apply for this. So all these things, which is I mean, these are small, but they took a lot of time when it comes to routing through some proper process. So there has to be some set guidelines for at least for these kind of things, like general office expenses, conveyance, tour and travel, refreshments, employee engagement activities. So some administrative policies has to be there. The fourth one is accounting procedures. Yeah, this is important for small businesses as well, especially when there is an in-house accounting function. Maybe you have a team of maybe two or four or one finance staff in that accounting function, but still you need that accounting process, like who is gonna enter the vouchers, how to enter the vouchers, what code needs to be given when we are creating any vendor, right? What is the sequence of the sales, or the invoice number we are going to raise, how we'll manage the GST things. So everything which is how we'll manage the chart of accounts. So when the new vendor comes in, what kind of vendor due diligence we are doing from the finance side. So all that simplified accounting procedure, not that very fancy or too difficult to understand, because we are into a small business and the people who are associated with us are of average level, or maybe not from that big background. So we can have a simplified accounting procedures for them. The fifth one, I would suggest that the company should have these policies, but if we can't go for data protection policies or information security procedures, these kind of things, but at least we should have a backup policy and a user management, which is very important. Let's suppose company is using some CRM software for their daily sales or for their daily services or something like that, then yes, this user management and backup retention is very important policies for any organization. Now, the last one, operational procedure policies. These are very work specific, very business specific policies. Like suppose if you have a service industry, you are into trading industry, then you should have some policies in place, procedure in place, so that people know to whom to approach. Like suppose if you are into the trading business, and you are procuring goods and you are selling goods, so you may have a procedure document. I won't say that there will be a policy document, that but yes, there will be a process document which will define that, okay, this is how the purchase comes in, how all we what kind of quality check we need to do, how to book the purchases, how it will go to finance, how finance will approve it, and how the payment will make to the vendor, right? So all this can be covered here. So I mean, these are the set of policies which a small organization has to have, because they're because these are the basic policies, and there is nothing much to do with this. These can be drafted with with within the team, with by the owner itself. So it won't take, it won't require to go for asking for a professional help to draft these policies. So these are basic document, and this can be prepared in house. So this is one. Second is segregation of duty. Now this is very important. This and the next one which I'm going to discuss, these two are the base or basic for internal controls. Every company, every organization, every small or big firm has to have this wherever possible. Now, what exactly the segregation of duties means? Segregation means we are executing we are executing a single a transaction, a process, not through a single person but dividing it. So the principle that no single individual is given authority to execute two conflicting duties. So let's suppose the person who is incurring that expense is not the person who is approving that expense. So there has to be a segregation of duties for this. Like example are separation of passing and approving of journal entries. Person who order goods from supplier should not log the goods into the accounting system, right? So this will curtail the somehow curtail the risk of frauds which may happen in the organization. Separation of vendor payments and the bank reconciliations, hiring employees and paying salaries. So this is any which ways a different we see in our in the current practices, that these are different departments. Hiring is done by HR, finalization of salaries is done by HR, and paying salaries is routed through the either the account people or the payment payroll team, which is part of HR but a separate team. So this is how they maintain the segregation of duties. Now, for a small organization, like I take an example where in the finance section there is only one person, how you will ensure the segregation of duties, which is not, I mean, is not possible there. So what we can do is we can implement the compensatory controls, which can be we can have exception reports, or secondary approval signatures on in that cases, so that we can somehow curtail that segregation of duties. I'll take an example for this. Like, suppose if you have only one person in finance, he is the only person who is making vendor payments, and who is the only and is doing bank reconciliations, right? So what we can do here is, whenever he is initiating any vendor payments, all those vendor payments can go to the if there is no other finance, I mean the team involved, that can be go to the owner itself, or the authority who approves the bank payments. So they can see what kind of payments are going on from I mean what they are approving, and what payments are actually going through the bank payments. So this is one. Second could be, if somehow that is also not possible, like vendor payments is also done by that one single person, then what we should have a exception reports. Now, what exactly is this? Exceptions could be like, you were reviewing your expenses, considering last 2 or 3 periods. You were saying you were doing variance analysis, so you'll quickly get to know about these things, like where is uh, what kind of variations is happening, what is the reason for that. So we plug in into it. So these kind of compensatory controls can be implemented where segregation of duties is not possible. So this is segregation of duties. Now the next, this is very important, approval metrics. I have seen in many organizations, like they were not aware of that. Okay, we have we where to go and to whom to approach for any specific approval. I mean, who will approve this payment, who will approve this hiring, who will approve this vendor, how to go for it, who will approve my laptop upgradation, who will approve my mobile bills, or to whom to approach. So their employees got confused, and uh, they went for some different things, and there are a lot of waste of time. So approval metrics or schedule of authority help us to define who in the organization has all the authorities, and to whom that employee has to approach. So this is has to be there. So, what exactly approval matrix is? A table that provides the business rules for routing and approval tasks through a business process based on preset conditions. Preset conditions means what all authority we have given to any particular person, so that he can approve up to that limit or something like that. So, these are the preset conditions. So, in an organization, one should know to whom he has to approach for appropriate approvals. Therefore, a well developed approval matrix has to be in place and communicated to all in the organization. So, this is very important. Now, when I say approval metrics, it's not about defining a chart that, okay, this expense will be initiated by employee, this will be approved by this, up to that limit, up to that limit. That is very well when you are doing manual things, in when you are doing manual tasks. But for some organization, these all routed through systems, like we have SAP in place, we generally have accounting softwares in place which we are using. So we need to implement, we have to integrate these approval metrics into that software. So if I talk about the finance software, so if we are using Tele or any other ERP software, so that approval metrics has to be inbuilt into that software, that okay, up to 5 lakh this will route it through this person, above 5 lakh this will route it through this person, and this is through the system. So this approval metrics, wherever possible, wherever we are using any software, software or system has to be integrated with that. So where all we can integrate it, one is the process document wherein we can integrate the approval metrics. Like I'll talk about the general administrative policies, tour and travel policies. So in that we have to define that this is the approving authority. Up to that amount he has to approve, up to that amount he has to approve. Once he has approved, how the payment will be processed, what is the approval mechanism for approving the advance. So that is there in the process document itself, right? So employees are aware of to whom they have to approach. Second integration could be the accounting software, which is very important. Like if suppose one person is authorized to is there to enter the transaction into the accounting software, one is there to approve that. So that approval, that trail has to be there in the accounting software, that has to be inbuilt, that preset condition has to be there in this software. Or there would be other supporting applications which businesses are using, that could be CRM, specific to business environment. So for even for that there has to be approval metrics in it. Okay. So we have discussed three in details: policies, procedures, segregation of duties, and approval metrics. Adequate physical control over assets, as I mean, this term says, we generally, in the small businesses, it's very difficult, or sometimes the owners are too busy that they do not have time to, have this in place. But this is very important. When I say physical control over assets, so obviously it's about physical assets. So we should have a physical control over assets, like we should have a lockers, or fire guards, or maybe we should have locked drawers in place, to safeguard our files, or these kind of things. And if I'll talk about the assets which we have over computer, then these backups or retention policies, they help us to adequately have physical control over assets. The fifth one is reconciliation process, or MIS. Now this MIS, this is very important because for small organizations, generally, owners are not involved in day to day, I mean, the kind of exceptions reports, or they are not reviewing their business on a day to day basis. But the MIS, the simplified MIS, not exactly the fancy MIS with a lot of the formulas or something like that. Simplified MIS, maybe just review of APAR, or MIS. Let's say if you are into a trading business, the MIS which shows what all purchases was happened during a period, what all sales, that is mapping or not, and why there are some purchases which are lying for so long, why this has not been sold out. Because in a trading, it's what has happened, what you procure, you generally sold out within a short span of time. So that kind of exception reports, MIS, helps the owners to have a good look on your business processes. So when I say MIS is it reports what it is working and what it is not. So in short, it gives the owner an overview of the business. Now the seventh one is sorry the sixth one is adequate training to staff. As I said, there has to be a policy process document, but I was insisting when I said approval metrics has to be placed, that has to be communicated. So when we say, we somehow we are lacking on it when we implement the internal controls. We draft very well fancy policies, we have good drafted MIS in place, but somehow we do not give adequate training to staff, how to use those policies, what all policies are in place, what all they have to taken care of. So this has to be there whenever there is a new policy, process, system comes into place. Adequate training to staff is very important, because then only you can effectively implement any process. So this is a very, very important control environment. Okay, so the seventh one, which is documentation. Yes, this is very important. Big organization takes care of like a lot of documentation, because you can't keep everything in your mind. You have to have some documentation in place which you can refer later on. So all important piece of information should be documented properly, either over email or in a properly guidelines or policy document, process document. So important information has to have documented, and as well as properly stored, so you can refer it at a later stage. So documentation is very important. Now, the last one, which is self-evaluation of existing controls, the controls or the practices which I have talked about. It's very important to see whether those are following effectively. Do we need to change something? Do we need to add something? Some new business has come up, so do we need to change our operational policies? What all we need to do, we have to check. Even for the existing controls, existing processes, are our controls are working effectively, are they are giving what they have to give. So for that, self evaluation is very important. Now, how you can do that self evaluation? Okay, so there are which which I have experienced. I have put it down. There could be other ways to do the self evaluation. One is transparent, effective feedback suggestion platform for employees, which is very important. In an organization, the manpower resource is important to grow. So getting their transparent feedback or suggestion for any kind of controls or the practices processes going on is the best way out to have a look on it, like how our organizations are going and where we can improve it. So this is one. Second is review with our external auditors, because they are reviewing your financial things from from different perspective and unbiasedly, so you can take care of these things with the external auditors. So they are going to give you unbiased review on your accounting things. Compliance reporting mechanism, uh, somehow this is not possible for small organization, but if you have that kind of mechanism, that is very important. What exactly is this? This is how it flows. This flows like each department is responsible to take care of their compliances, either if this is with respect to policy compliance, statutory compliance, or compliance with the stakeholders, or they with the vendors. You If you have that kind of vendors or the partners in place, so maybe there are some compliances from their side as well, which you need to take care of. So what management do is, each department is they make each department responsible for their compliances and ask for the reporting on those compliances. So they make a list of compliances. The department has to complete that checklist. The department has to submit that to the management, maybe on a monthly or a quarterly basis, to the management, to make sure that okay, all compliances have been fulfilled. So whenever there are problems in compliances, we noticed, or there are a lot of compliances for particular department. So yeah, that we can go ahead and review it, and then we can see what is happening wrong and how we can improve it. So this help us to uh, improve our existing internal controls. So apart from all these, for the self evaluation and everything, if it's possible for this the organization, then yes, obviously, if you can, then hire an internal auditors who can evaluate yourself, your internal controls, who can based some risk based methodology. They can work for you. They will help you out with all these things. So this is the last resort which you can have. You may hire an internal auditor if that is feasible for you. So yeah, so this is all. I think I have covered most of the best practices for the small businesses, which who can go for the a lot of they can't spend over these departments as a cost effectiveness. So yeah, they can implement these, and to some extent they can have some internal control environment in place. So this is it. And if you want to have such kind of videos, if you want to see such kind of videos, then you can obviously subscribe to CSNSR. And if you have any queries on this particular topic, you can connect me on the given addresses. Also, you can, uh, you can put down your query on the comment box as well. So thank you so much.